Hi, I'm Yinka, and this is The Hurt Locker, a podcast where we open a door into men's mental health. Come and go. And what I'd like to do within this is to normalize these types of conversations.
Yeah.
Having the thoughts is far more common than we as a society are happy to admit to, if that makes sense.
No, it does. It feels, it almost feels there's an element of shame of even admitting that you had the thought. You know, habits slip.
I'll tell you what happened. You were in such a good place that you stopped doing the things that were working for you.
And that's exactly what I do.
You're listening to The Hurt Locker, the podcast that opens the door to men's mental health. And for tonight's guest, we have Chris Kent, comedian. Chris, welcome to The Hurt Locker.
Hiya, how you doing, Yinka?
I'm good,
Great
I'm
to be
good.
here.
I'm good. Curious, why have you come on The Hurt Locker?
Because you asked me. No, and I listened to it, and I listened to a few, and yeah, I'm always interested to have conversations with people that might relate to somebody else, I guess, and someone else might be able to take something from it.
Okay, so for the benefits of people, and there'll be few, there won't be that many, but who is Chris Kent?
I guess I'm a comedian. That's how I introduce myself most of the time. I'm a comedian, a professional comedian. Again, I was and I wasn't, then again, for a while. I'm a dad, I'm a husband, a son, friend, and yeah, that's who Chris Kent is.
Okay, so I can tell from your accent that you're not from England. So where were you born and raised?
No, I'm from Cork. I am from Cork.
I was going to ask you how to pronounce it. Cork.
I should have got you to guess that, actually. I should have got you to guess that. Yeah, I'm from Cork, and it's something I struggled. I didn't struggle, but I'm very conscious of hanging on to my accent. I lived in Dublin for a long time, and I lived in London for an even longer time, maybe close to 6 years. And I think you have to be very aware, because it's very easy to slip and start picking up other people's accents and stuff like that, you know. So it's something that I try hard to keep. I don't know why. Maybe it's a sense of my identity, I suppose, but something that I found myself guarding a bit the last couple of years, you know. But I'm back in Cork now for the last nearly 5 years. So,
without telling us your postcode and address, whereabouts in Cork?
I don't mind telling you my postcode and address at all. No, I'm over on the south side of the city in a place called Jacob's Island, opposite to where I grew up. I grew up on the north side of the city, in a place called Knocknaheeny. That's where my parents still are. That's where I go, still go to visit them often, and I'm always up there as well. But that would be the type of area that has a bit of a reputation in Cork, I suppose, as being a hard area, I guess, would be a polite way of how people describe it. You know what I mean? Okay. So, but it's great. I had many happy years there growing up, like, you know.
So, would you have considered yourself a hard person growing up then, or?
No, not at all. Not at all. Complete opposite. Real introverted, really quiet, really quiet. I would have been, I guess, within my own group of friends, within a small group of friends, where I would have allowed myself to sort of really be myself. But to the outside world, I was probably one of the quietest young fellas there in the park and in the school, like, you know. Would have been very quiet. That's the thing. I have some material about that, about people. Sometimes, I'm not saying that's what you did, but sometimes people will go, "Oh, you're from there, so you can fight, can't you?" That's what people would be like, and I'm like, "No, I can't," you know.
Damn, I was going to ask you. There's Chris Kent, Sonia O'Sullivan.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm Roy Keane. I said Roy Keane.
Roy Keane, Sonia O'Sullivan, myself. Yeah. I'm very, very, very.
Who wins the fight?
To be in that company. Ooh. I don't know. Maybe I think Roy, probably no one else would turn up, so Roy would be there waiting on his own.
I think you'd be quicker.
No, I am. Do you know what? I talk myself down a lot. I did box for quite a while when I was a
There you
teenager.
go. There you
But
go.
you always pretend you can't fight anyway. But what would annoy me was people assumed I would fight because of where I was from, and nothing to do with the fact that I did boxing for 7 or 8 years.
Okay.
That was always second. It was always, oh, you're from this place, so you must be able to scrap, even though I did no fighting up there at all.
Okay. So tell me, what made you come to London in the first instance?
Well, I always say London because it's a bit easier, but I was just outside London in a place called St. Albans,
That's
and I
posh.
just it is posh. It's very
That's
posh. Yeah,
very
yeah,
posh.
yeah, yeah.
I
I
haven't
didn't.
I haven't been there, but I do know it's posh.
It is. It is. I was sticking out there a little bit. Um, no, it was great though. I really loved it there. But of course, comedy was what drew me there. Comedy was it was the next step in my comedy career to try London. And I had been going for quite a while at that point. I was probably doing comedy about 10 years before I made the move to London. I'll just say London. It's just easy. It's just always
Yeah.
easier for me than explaining to people where St. Albans is. And it's just outside London. Uh,
Hertfordshire.
Hertfordshire, yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Hertfordshire.
I call it Hertfordshire, yeah. But it's kind of yeah, it was the next logical step for me. Like I started off doing comedy in Cork, and as a hobby, very much as a hobby, with a day job on building sites, doing uh, an electrician, finishing off my electrical apprenticeship,
Okay,
and
you a
then
spark. Okay.
I'm a Sparkies as well. Yeah, I am. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So that was kind of where I started out doing a little bit of comedy here and there. There wasn't a massive scene in Cork when I was trying to get up and go with it, and then the recession hit in 2009, and the Sparky work went away. So for a year previous to that, I was in Australia as well. So I did get my qualification, flew to Australia, was still doing gigs over there, but was very much just a hobby, a stand-up kind of, always secretly wanting to make it and have it be my main job, but at the same time, half afraid to say it to anybody. You know what I mean? So I was pushed rather than shoved. I was pushed rather than jumped into comedy in the end, because when I came back from Australia in 2009, there was no work. There was just no work. The crash had happened. Construction was gone, and I just at that time, by chance or by luck, I started to make a little bit of money off comedy, and I sort of focused on that then. And yeah, basically built it up and up and up and up, and moved from Cork to Dublin for 4 or 5 years. And then I'd sort of achieved what I thought I could achieve there. And then the next logical step was to move over to the UK and try and get in. And, because there's such a great scene over there. There's so many comedy clubs, there's so many amazing comedians. You can only get better being with them and being around them. And, you know,
So describe your material then. Describe your
my
your
stand
uh,
up would
yeah.
be described, a lot of people would describe it as storytelling, I'd say. Deadpan storytelling, relaxed, laid back, probably relatable. And I guess that's all just because I never really was into comedy before I did it. I never watched it. I never
Oh,
wasn't a stand-up student. There's a really good comedian. His name is Des Bishop. He's a kind of an Irish American comedian. He was making a TV show, and he actually came to all these disadvantaged, let's call them, areas around Ireland. It was called Joy in the Hood, and he took 2 or 3 people from each place and said, "I'm going to teach you how to do stand up." Now, I didn't do the program, but I knew the people on the program, so I went to see them. I went to see him do a big show at the end, and it opened my eyes to everything. Because I say I didn't follow stand up, I still knew who Des Bishop was, and I knew who Tommy Tiernan was, but I wasn't really a fanboy of stand up. But when I saw my friends do it, when I saw people that were just like regular people that I knew get up with a microphone and do it, that was the biggest inspiration to me. That just opened a whole door to me of going, oh, this is something I'd love to do myself. The fact that I could see those people do it.
is it like a drug being on stage?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I think the first time I did it, I got hooked pretty much immediately. And then after a couple of times, you just keep wanting more and more. But it's a drug, but also, I don't know, it kind of messes with you a little bit, because I didn't even tell a lot of people I was doing it, actually. I didn't tell my parents. I didn't tell my close friends. It was just something I was doing in secret, really. And I guess I was afraid of
A closet
a
comedian.
closet comedian. Yeah, exactly. I was afraid of just having, I guess, a rubbish gig in front of them. Or I think I loved it so much, maybe I was afraid of anybody deterring me from it. And I was afraid of anybody saying, oh, why would you do that? Or what are you doing that for? My wife knew. We weren't married at the time, but she's always been very supportive. She's always been there. But she sort of knew about it. And obviously the friends that I was doing comedy with, they also knew about it. You know what I mean? But yeah,
Interesting.
yeah, and I absolutely love it. I don't know what I would have done without finding it, really. Like, you know, it's incredible.
Tell me a little bit about growing up then. Siblings?
Siblings, I got one younger brother. Grew up in Knocknaheeny, like I said. Had a brilliant childhood. Like, it did have, especially when I was growing up, it had a really bad reputation. When it came to Cork City, Knocknaheeny was mentioned, and it was just like you were immediately sort of tarred with a brush, or judged, or, you know, I mean, people used to make jokes about it, like, because Knocknaheeny and Hollyhill are quite near each other, and people would say you have to stick Hollyhill on your CV, and then if you're getting into a fight, you say you're from Knocknaheeny. So that was the kind of the vibe, you know what I mean? But at the same time, in my whole estate, there was never really any trouble to our door or anything like that. There was lots going on. It was a busy area, council estates, and but most of the people there were just incredible and would do anything to help you. And that's what I can remember. That's what I can remember, was a community of just, you know, numerous stories of people just helping each other out, or being really caring and being really incredible. And of course, there was, you know, joyriders every night. Could be every night out on the road, and there was all sorts of trouble that went along with that. But at the same time, that's not my biggest memory of the place. My biggest memory is playing football with my friends out on the street every single day until
Nice.
the lights came on. You know what I mean? So those classic sort of childhood memories that we have. I went to school in Knocknaheeny as well. Now, I do think that's one thing which probably could have been better, because I think the school itself fell victim at the time to, this is a rough area, this is a disadvantaged area. Whatever about the primary school, that was fine. It was in the secondary school. I always remember one time a career guidance counselor, a teacher, came into our classroom, and they had CAO forms, which are forms for college, and said, oh, I just want to hand out some forms for college. And our teacher laughed. Our teacher laughed really hard at them and was like, they're not going to college. And I genuinely believe it was just a joke, but it's something that stuck with me.
Stuck with you, wasn't it?
For so long, and it really griped me. And I never actually had any interest in going to college, but at the same time, it wasn't really made available as an option to me, or no one ever spoke to me about it. If you go to college, you can do this or you can do that. The big thing was get a trade, get yourself a trade,
Yes.
Get yourself a job, get yourself become an apprentice. And so that's kind of the road that I went down. And I wanted to get my leaving cert, but I wasn't really focusing on college at all. I was getting through school. I wanted to pass my leaving cert, and I wanted to get a trade. And was that because of the expectations around me? I don't know. I don't know if I ever would have wanted to go to college had it been a different situation, you know. But it definitely wasn't something that was encouraged or anything like that. It was just like, get a trade. And definitely some people in my school went to college, but overall it was like, yeah. And that was not just from the school, that was our parents and the people around us. And
I was going to ask you about that in terms of encouragement from your mum, your dad, etc.
My mum and dad are very encouraging. They're fairly laid back at the same time, but they would all be. That was just the thing back then. It was get yourself a trade, and you'll never be out of work. And that really was. An electrician was like the top of the pile. So
I'll share something with you. I'm a brickie by trade. I did my apprenticeship my our fella said the same thing. Get yourself a
Yeah.
trade, something to fall back on and all that. And
Yeah.
as I did my bricklaying, if I'd have gone down the apprenticeship route again, I would have been a spark.
Yes.
I would have, no two ways about it. I just would have been a spark, because the sparkies that I knew came in suits, left, and they were clean, and that was it. But brickies, plasterers, plumbers, just dirty. Just dirty.
I never had a suit now, to be honest, as a spark. But
I'm sure you did. I'm sure
maybe
you
my
did.
boss. No, maybe my boss did. I remember actually the first interview I went for as a Sparks. My mother made me wear a suit, and I didn't get that job. But it was years later. So I just after I finished my leaving cert, in my boxing club, one of the lads' dad said, "You got your leaving cert? Did you pass your results? Did you pass your maths?" I think maths was kind of
maths and English.
Essential. Maths and English, maybe. I certainly remember maths being essential for it anyway. Maths, English, and Irish were like the three main ones that you have to pass in Ireland.
I don't even know why I said maths and English, and as soon as this come out my mouth, I should have said maths and Irish.
Yeah, it could have been. I think it all a lot of it hung on the maths. I think you need good maths, but anyway, I had passed all of them. Anyway, I passed my leaving cert, so he said, "Do you want an apprenticeship?" And maybe I was 19 at the time, so I was out of school about a year. I had been working in this butcher's that I was working in after school and before school, and you know what I mean, like Wednesdays and the weekends and Christmas, and I had been working in there full time for maybe a year at that stage. And I was up in the boxing club, and he said to me, "Would I be interested in doing an apprenticeship as an electrician?" And I was like, "Absolutely, I'd love to do that. I would love to do that."
Why was that?
I don't know, because I suppose everyone had made such a big deal about it to me. And like trade. And I remember when I went home to my mum and dad and I said, "Oh, Richie down in the club is after saying he could maybe get me an apprenticeship as an electrician." And my dad was just like, "Oh, take the job, Chris, take it." And I made a joke about it later, because he was like, "Take it, Chris, take it. You'll never be out of work, take it." And that used to be like one of my openers for when I was doing stand-up. He was like, take the job, Chris, you'll never be out of work." Here I am now with a microphone that I didn't wire in a comedy club, because obviously the crash came and no one could foresee that, like, you know. But I took it. Actually, at the time, I had been working in a butcher's, and the hours were going down and down, and I sort of got another job in the same sort of market in a sort of fishmongers. I wasn't crazy about that either. So I was leaving a job that I didn't like for an apprenticeship. And the thing was, though, I remember taking the job. I went for the interview and I took the job, and my first day's work was away from home, which was a huge shock to me. So my first day's work was, like, I live in Cork, which is right down the south. My first day's work was in Balbriggan, which is right up on the east coast, like above Dublin. This is before motorways or anything like that. So it was like a 4 or 5 hour car journey. You had to go up and stay in a bed and breakfast or in digs or something like that for the week, and that just terrified me, like leaving my mother's house.
Why was that?
It's just like they're a big company, and you kind of went where the work was. And I think it was it was a little bit of their way of testing you as an apprentice and saying, there's not always going to be work in Cork. Okay, your first job it's 330 kilometers away. How are you going to, like, you know, is he going to take the job? Is he going to turn up at work? You know what I mean? Is this going to deter him? Because I think that they don't want to take you on in a job, and they invest time in you as well, like, you know, and you end up going months and months into a job, and then it's not really for you, like. But yeah, I hated the fact that I had to go. I had a girlfriend at the time, and I thought it was a huge deal to be leaving her for 4 days, you know. What did I know? Like, I was so naive, but and I wanted to come back. I was like crying. I wanted to, like, I don't want to be here anymore. I hate this job. I was all gung-ho to take it. But when I was sent out of Cork, I was like, I hate it. I don't like it. But
was that because you had creature comforts at home?
Yeah, I think creature comforts and young, you know, I suppose young love as well, in a way. Like, you're going out with a girl, you're young, it's your first kind of, you think this is it. You think, oh, this is it. I'm settled down now. You know what I mean? known each other since we're 16, so that's that. Um, I'm not committing to anybody else. But yeah, it was a bit of everything really, and I didn't get off to a great start. I remember having to get up at 3 a.m. in the morning or something like that to get a lift. So I was getting a lift from the other side of Cork up to Balbriggan, which was where the sort of job was. I was actually a place called Gormanstown, County Meath, and I missed my lift because my phone died. My phone just died in the night. Never happened before. I just remember my mother bursting in the door saying, "Your alarm never went off. You're gonna miss your fucking lift." And of course, the phone came back on. The guy had tried to call me 5 times. He drove. He left. And then my dad drove me into Cork. I got a train from Cork to Dublin. I got a bus across Dublin. I had to get on another train from Connolly in Dublin, and then I had to get a bus all the way out to Gormanstown, County Meath, and I was like 7.5 hours late. So I made another joke about I was 7.5 hours late for my first day at work. I was walking on and fellas were walking off the site, but they sort of like I guess took pity on me. Like I was a little scrawny little kid. I looked like I didn't even want to be there. But yeah, so it didn't start very well. But my mother insisted.
You put the effort in, though.
Yeah, I put the effort in, and I remember those first couple of months really wanting to jack it in really early. My mum just insisted I kept the job. She insisted you have to stick it out. It's a good job, Christopher. You can't just give up because it's hard and you're away from home. You're going to get a good qualification out of it. And I'm so happy. I'm so glad that she made me stick it out because, a couple of months later, 4 or 5 months later, I was back in Cork, and I enjoyed being sent away to other jobs then further down the line, and ended up getting my apprenticeship, which really stood behind me. And like you said, I always have to fall back on.
Absolutely. Can you change a plug still?
Oh God, yeah, really good at that. Sure, I went back. I went back after the pandemic. You see, so 2009, the crash happened. I just went into comedy, pretty much. Moved from Cork to Dublin. Fast forward to London. Was probably doing comedy full time about 10 years at that point, maybe a little bit more, close to 12. And it was starting to go well, starting to do little tours in Ireland. No major breaks on TV or anything like that. Nothing to write home about, but I was starting to really get my head above water, because stand up, as much as I love it, it's a graft, especially in the beginning when you're driving to Belfast for no money and people are like, "What? Yeah, I'm not getting anything." And if you talk too long to someone about it, the wrong person, they'll turn you off it, like, because you're going to Belfast, you're getting in the car, you're driving for 4 hours, you're doing 7 minutes on stage, and you're driving back. It's insane. It's insane.
People don't see that side, do they? People don't see that side, and like you said, you have to put that graft in.
You have to. And I was doing it, and I did it for. I've been doing it nearly 20 years now. So I've been doing it since I'm 21. I'm 41 now.
I was just about to ask you how old you are, and there's no way I would have said 41.
Really?
No way. No way.
Yeah, you can't see the grey hair there now. You can see it if you come close.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I see. I was waiting. Are you going to say I'm a younger than 41 or older than 41?
Oh no, you're definitely younger. Definitely younger.
That's great. Thank you very much. I'm delighted now.
You're welcome. Checks in the post.
That's why I came on the Hurt Locker there now to refer to your first question.
Okay, so now you are on the Hurt Locker. What's in your Hurt Locker? You know about mental health.
Yes, absolutely. I do, and I'm in a good place now. But it's not always a good place. You know what I mean?
Okay. Before you continue, some of the work that I do, that I specialize in, is around suicide, etc. Okay, and I do know I've got friends in Belfast and other places as well, and they work in the same field as me and tell me about the lack of support in terms of mental health and the generational disconnect whereby the older generation don't talk about mental health, don't even understand it. And like
Yeah.
we've had a few comedians from Ireland, from across Ireland, who spoke about some of the challenges that they've experienced. So I'm just asking you about you. You've said you're in a good place, and I'm happy to hear that. And I don't
Yeah.
want to press any buttons, but
No, not at all. I'm happy to talk about it. I am in a good place. It fluctuates, like everybody. It fluctuates, and I'll have periods of not being in a good place. But weirdly enough, luckily, I'd say when I was struggling the most, I was actually living in the UK, and I think your services are so much better to help people than we have here in Ireland. Anyway, I know that for a fact from talking to friends that have struggled and have tried to get help and have either gone to the doctor and been handed antidepressants or told come back in 6 months, which is a ridiculous thing to say to anybody
okay,
that is
Chris,
struggling.
excellent. Can I ask, when you were in England, did you access support, or was it friends
Yeah,
of yours that first of all, you stepped forward and said,
yeah.
put your hand up and said, help. How was that for you initially?
I'll tell you what it was now, right? As much earlier as I was saying, I love stand up, and I genuinely do, and I still do, and it's an incredible thing that I get to do to make a living. But it's a slog, and when we moved to England, it was really hard for a while because I had sort of established myself to a certain extent in the clubs in Ireland, and I was making okay money. I was making enough money to get by. But when I moved to England, it was kind of like starting again. You have to prove yourself. So you sort of get yourself into a little bit of a hole financially again. And there's a few knockbacks. And it just came at a point where if you talk to other comedians, it was at a point where, according to my peers, it was just going like this for me. I was writing a new show every year. I was getting better and better and better and better as a stand-up comedian, and I really was. I was getting quotes from like James Acaster and Tommy Tiernan, and I was really like on the way up. But at the same time, I'm struggling to pay my rent a lot of months, and I was like, but there's no massive financial break here coming. And
Yes.
and I think looking back retrospectively, I think I put an awful lot of my self-worth into comedy. I tried so hard to be a comedian. I tried so hard to be the best at comedy that I think I focused way too much in it, and I ended up accidentally sort of putting my self-esteem in there as well. So
But
even though
yeah,
I was getting all of this praise from everybody, and my shows I felt were getting better and better and better and better and better, there was no big break. There was no big
yes.
moment. What kind of went, oh yeah. There was more. It was more so knockbacks. Like you may be being talked about for a certain TV show, and you'd really build up your hopes, and it just wouldn't happen. An email, sorry, it's not going to happen. And then you see other people come through that have just started. And in my mind at the time, I was like, they're not even trying as hard as me, and they were getting breaks, and they were passing me out, and I was like, what do I have to do? And I started sort of self-pitying and catastrophizing a bit. And I think comedians in particular are very creative people, but sometimes it can be a hindrance because you get quite creative uh, with your
Negative
with your
thoughts.
despair and with your
Yes.
negative thoughts, and you
Brilliant.
start
Brilliant.
following them, and of course they
Brilliant.
become addicted, don't they? And I became properly addicted to them. And I was after becoming a dad as well for the first time, which I think just brought in a whole new financial pressure. And
Yes.
it was a pivotal point in my career. It was like, it was all well and good to do this. It was all well and good to do this for years and years, and fly somewhere and stay on someone's couch. But I'm a dad now. Like I need to pay for, you know what I mean? I need to make money in the world, and I need to provide for somebody else. So I think I started doubling down on the catastrophizing point of stuff, and I just started. It's like a vicious circle. I think you get addicted to the thoughts, and I would start off by going, oh, what if this club stops booking me? How am I going to pay the rent then? And then it would be, and what if I can't write another show? What if I'm not able to do that? And it was just like, these are simple little things, but something like my car breaking down. I'd be like, I don't know how I'm going to fix that. And I get a little bit of help and I get out of the hole. But I think I put so much into comedy I started to fear for the very first time that this might not work out at all. And I basically, I followed those negative thoughts, and I kept on following them, and I kept on sort of digging that hole. And I remember just getting these palpitations in my chest, and they were just there an awful lot of the time then. And I felt like I just felt like this heaviness in me all the time, except when I was gigging. Ironically enough, it was when I was
Yeah.
around my family and stuff like that. And it was just one morning, I think myself and my wife and my son was there. We might have been arguing about something, but it just kind of triggered everything. It kind of triggered everything that I was kind of carrying around inside me. And uh, I just couldn't stop. I was really emotional. I was crying. I was like, I don't know what to do anymore. I just felt numb from everything, to be quite honest with you. And I think I put an awful lot of my self-esteem into comedy. Also, I was leaning on it very heavily financially, and I wasn't really seeing many benefits. So with a nudge from my wife, actually, she said, you need to talk to someone. You need to get some help. You need to get some help.
What was your initial reaction when she said that?
It was relief, actually.
Honestly?
Yeah, no, seriously, it was relief, and I was sad, but it was relief that she said you need to get help. And I was like, because part of me thought, oh, you're just building all this up in your head. Like there's not that much wrong with you. Even though I felt numb and my chest felt heavy, and I felt like uh, I felt like harder and harder to get out of this, because I've been through those spells before, and I may have a bad day or a bad 2 days, and I'd be able to get out of them. But this was starting to go on a little bit longer and longer, and I thought it was a bit deeper in how I was feeling. And she said, yeah, you need to get some help. And I was relieved, but I was also terrified to ring and ask for help. So I was sort of looking after my son during the day because my wife had a job, and I rang the doctor, my local doctors, and I said, it was the nurse on the phone, which always feels a bit weird telling them. I said, I'm not feeling great. I just need to talk to someone. I need to call you. And I remember being in a play group in St. Albans, actually, and no one probably would have even known what was going on. I was there laughing and joking with people, and started drinking cups of tea and asking about their kid, and they're asking about my kid. And my phone rang, and you know the way the nurse says the doctor will call you back. I went out, and the doctor called me back, and they said, okay. They asked me how I was feeling about my symptoms, and they said, can you call up? Can you call up? It was like in an hour, and I went up there. I pushed my son in the buggy all the way up, and I sat down with her, and we just had a long conversation about how I was feeling and why I was feeling that way. And she sort of prescribed that I might need. It was CBT at the time.
Okay, so she went down the therapeutic route straight away.
Cognitive behavioral therapy,
Yeah.
yeah. She said what it was. She said it was like a mild. She said it was mild depression, that what I was experiencing. But
Okay.
it could get a lot worse. You know what I mean? Because I was telling her how addicted the thoughts were, and the fact that I couldn't. I don't know. There's this I don't know how they are addictive, but they seem to keep coming up, and then you're following them and following them. But yeah, she recommended I do CBT, which is cognitive behavioral therapy, which I think worked really well for me at the time, because it's all about challenging those thoughts. And
Yes.
I would have just let the thoughts in my head and tried to
Yes.
fight them in my head, but you write it down on a piece of paper, and you say, for example, I can't, like, something I would have been worried about at the time. What if this promoter doesn't book me again? And then you write down, where's the evidence that this thought is true? And you go, oh, there is no evidence that that's going to happen. And it's a slow enough process. But I talked to her on the phone every week, and we check in, and she give me new exercises. And there was an online thing that I had to do for CBT, and it really worked. I got myself into a much better place, and it was really good. Yeah, and I was really glad to be there at the time.
Did you ever feel suicidal?
I had the thoughts, but don't think they were ever serious enough where I was genuinely thinking of
No,
acting on them.
don't minimize it.
Yeah,
I think for me, I asked you the question directly because, and you've happily just admitted that
yeah,
you've had the thoughts and that. And what I'd like to do within this is to normalize these types of conversations,
yeah,
and it's great because, we can have thoughts. I've had thoughts,
mm,
you can have thoughts, but then it's a step up then from the plan and then the act itself,
yeah.
and so having the thoughts is far more common than we as a society are happy to admit to, if that makes
Mm.
sense.
No, it does. It feels, it almost feels there's an element of shame of even admitting that you had the thought. I totally get you.
100%.
I
100%.
totally get you. But yeah, no, it's yeah, yeah. I say like I was never serious about it, but obviously that's yeah. It still doesn't uh it still doesn't get rid of the fact that yeah you had those thoughts and times were hard and you're just thinking Jesus Christ, like would it just be easier like if there was
S-
nothing to do.
Spot on.
And that's
Spot
your
on.
gateway into it, like you just think,
Yeah.
oh god. But thankfully I felt a lot better after that. And just to say, I think maybe a year or 18 months after that I found myself going back to them again. I got myself into the same habit slip. I got into a really good place.
Yeah, yeah. I'll
Yeah.
tell you what happened. You were in such a good place that you stopped doing the things that were working for you.
And that's exactly what I do. And I do it, and it happens to me periodically. And
Yeah.
I've never felt as bad as I did on those two occasions where I was doing CBT with these people on the phone and doing my exercises. But every now and again, I'll get into a rut every couple of weeks or whatever, however long it takes. And there's always a couple of common things going on. You're like, well, I haven't been doing any, I haven't been exercising. I haven't been doing any runs. I like running is great for my head. I haven't been doing any fucking meditation. I haven't been doing any writing, which is something I
Massive.
think, I think is a huge thing. I think creativity is a massive
Yes.
antidote to depression and to negative thoughts, because I think negative thoughts are just
100%.
ruminating. They're ruminating, and you allow yourself to
100%.
ruminate. Whereas
100%.
right, yeah,
It's interesting. We had I don't know if you've met Rick Keyswetter.
I did. Sorry, I did.
Yeah,
I gigged at him. Yeah, yeah,
you gigged with them. Okay, cool,
yeah,
cool. So we
yeah.
had him on a few weeks ago and all that, and what we asked him about what grinds his gears and all that, and what grinds your gears. And
Uh
I love the way you took a little
yeah.
breath then.
A lot actually, a lot. But there's different levels to it. There's different levels. There's deeper gears that are grinded, and there's surface ones. I think on the surface, I have this little thing called misophonia, which is it's like a hatred of certain sounds, and it's something I've had since I was a kid, and it would literally boil up in my blood and give me a kind of fight or flight uh, reaction. So I don't know if you've ever heard of this. It's very common,
No,
like eating noises. So the sound of my wife eating an apple or something like that would make me so angry. It would make me like properly crazy angry. It would make me go, or anything, even my kids eating now, or people eating popcorn in the cinema. And it's not just that, there's a range of noises that literally I feel like I'm being attacked when I hear them. It's not just
yes,
like it's an annoyance. It's like
yes.
my whole body goes into a rage and I have to calm myself down. So if you look it up, that's one thing.
Misophonia. I thought that was
So
missing the agent's call, but
misophonia,
anyway.
yeah. Yeah, that annoys me as well, yeah. That's another thing that annoys me. Grinding my gears. Yeah, I get very worked up in the car as well. I'm trying to be a bit more present with my kids. I get very worked up in the car.
That's interesting. Okay,
Mm.
that was a question I was going to ask you about being present, but do you experience road rage?
Yeah, yeah, I do. Yeah. And again, it all always correlates with something, a time where I'm like I'm not checking in with myself at those times.
Okay.
I find my road rage. Like for example, I said I'm very good now, and I really am, and I'm not having any incidences where I'm having road rage or calling someone a name for pulling out in front of me when your kids are in the back of the car. Like, you know, it always correlates with, okay, you're not looking after yourself, and then you start rushing around the place, and you're not leaving yourself a lot of time, and you're really worked up, and you're not doing any jobs because they don't write anything down, and you spend half the day on your phone or whatever else, you know. Uh, but I do definitely suffer from it every now and again, a bit of road rage.
You know how long that stays with you for?
No, I don't.
Stays with you for a few hours.
Does it?
Yeah. So it makes you susceptible. If you've been cut up by somebody in a car
Yeah.
and then that incident's gone, you'll do whatever, explosives and all that, but it's still
Okay.
there in the body. So
Yeah.
it could be just a minor thing, like, I don't know, a friend drops something.
Yeah.
You can just snap as a result of that because it's
Yeah.
still there.
I do get that. Yeah, I do get that because yeah, because it can be later in the day. You'll find yourself being a little more easily annoyed than you normally are, you know,
Yes.
about other stuff. But
Yes.
I'm definitely better at managing it now, I think. And when I'm like this and when I'm in a good place, I just everything seems to come down below a certain level, and my tolerance to everything is a lot higher, and I just don't stress it. I just don't really stress it, and I'm like I seem to be much better at regulating my inner dialogue and my inner questions. And even if I am running late, I'm much better at saying, so what, I'll be a bit
Absolutely.
late.
Absolutely. Tell me about
Yeah.
being present. How many kids have you got now,
Two kids, a boy and a girl. Yeah.
boss?
So they drag you into the present moment a lot of the time, which I think is great. Some people think kids can be annoying, or and it
Yeah,
is kind of frustrating when you're trying to do something. But I think what they're doing a lot of the time is dragging you into the present moment, asking you questions, asking you stuff that you need to stop what you're doing and sort of answer them, you know. But I do think it's such an important thing to be in the present moment if you can. I listened to a book years ago, an audio book. It was Eckhart Tolle's one, A New Earth. Was it A New
yes,
Earth? Or
yeah,
I thought he talked about the ego and about being in the present, and I think I've listened to it multiple times. Actually, I think it's so
brilliant,
important, so
brilliant.
important. You're just so much better at everything when you're just in the present moment, and you're not worrying about what you need to do tomorrow, or thinking about what you did last week, or you know what I mean, or ruminating on something else. Like when you're actually genuinely present. And I find like I do make an effort, but since I've had kids, I make more of an effort, especially around them. And I'm not always, I'm not a perfect parent by any stretch, but I do try my best to practice it more, especially around the both of them, you know.
How does you being a child differ to your children being?
Oh, I'd say it's night and day, I would say. Night and day. I had a great childhood, and I'm constantly mining it for comedy and for content, and I'm like I constantly just have these memories that I can sort of talk about on stage, you know. But I think it's so different. I think it's so different now. Between my kids and me. I think for a start, I feel like we were freer in one way. We were out, we were playing, we were out in the street all day long. Just
Yes,
just doesn't just doesn't happen anymore at all. We didn't have devices, we didn't have screens, we didn't have stuff that, I mean, we had computers, like, but it wasn't as, we had less distractions. But my kids are great. Like, you know, they're really creative, they're really funny, they're they're constantly learning, and they're constantly wanting to do new things, which I think is amazing, you know. I think in my head, I think I spend more time with them maybe than my parents spent with me, but at the same time, that might be make it sound like I had bad parents or anything, but
No.
I definitely didn't. I definitely didn't. I feel like there's different pros and different cons with both of them, you know. Me being a
Yeah.
kid, like I said, the freedom, the limited distractions, calling around to your friend's house, going missing for the day. That just doesn't
Absolutely.
happen anymore. I
It
think
doesn't.
we were probably, sadly, in a way, we were probably allowed to be kids a little bit more than they're allowed to be kids now.
Do you worry about your children growing up?
I do, yeah, yeah, I do every now and again. I'll have these little moments where I'm like, how is that going to happen, or how am I going to be able to deal with that? But that's just taking me out of
Being in
the
the
present
moments.
moment, and I'm going to go.
Absolutely.
I deal with it, and we raise them really well, and myself and my wife, like we do our absolute best. We're always there for them. We're always talking to them. We're all trying to put in the blocks in place now and go, oh, you can talk to me about that, or you can talk to me about that. It's one thing that because there probably was less of awareness about it when I was a kid. I always talk to my kids about how they're feeling, and I really just kind of like if one of them's upset about something that happened in school, and I really just sort of have the conversation with them. And why did that make you feel sad? Blah blah blah. Well, and that's okay. And I'll try and relate it back to something with me. I'll say I feel like that as well. I know why you're feeling like that, but that's okay, and it's not going to last or whatever, you know. Because I'm hoping that they'll always come to me then if I'm open with them and I'm willing to talk about even small little things with them. I'm hoping
Yes.
that they'll always come back to me and go, oh, I'll have a conversation with my dad about it, or with my mom, like, you know.
Yeah. Were you close to your mum or dad in the same similar context? Could you talk to them
Um,
about anything? Or
I wouldn't have
would
been.
they
I
hide?
don't think I'd have been able to talk to them about anything. No, not anything. And a lot that was probably on me as well, to be honest. But saying that, I wouldn't have been able to talk to them about anything, but I've never ever in my life had any doubt that they were 100% there for me. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
If that makes
No,
sense
it
at
does make
all.
sense. It does make
Yeah,
sense.
I knew they were there, and yeah, and they were always very supportive. My mother was very strict growing up. Maybe it was part of growing up in that area, but I didn't stray far outside the lines anyway.
Absolutely. Was love understood rather than said?
I think so. Yeah, that's a really good way of articulating it. Yeah, I think so. I tell my kids I love them all the time, multiple times a day, and they tell me as well. And my mum and dad, I don't really remember that being a thing, but I knew
Yeah.
they loved me because they worked hard and they put me and my brother ahead of them all the time. You know what I mean? We weren't we weren't the most financially secure family growing up.
Understood.
Like it never stopped my mom doing absolutely everything for me and my brother to have the latest football kit, or to have the latest trainers for Christmas or whatever, like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean. So
Yeah.
I know for a fact they put us ahead of them so often that you just know that that's just love anyway, isn't it, really? So
Yeah.
and of course they would have said it to us, but we definitely don't say it the way we say it today. uh
Do you feel the fact that you say it, it's about, and it's not a criticism, but it's about having needs met from when you were a younger kid?
Potentially, yeah, 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 maybe. I'm always hugging them and kissing them and telling them I love them, and we're just that type of family, really. But even like that, like I think my little girl is very open emotionally and is like, I love you, I love you, I love you. Whereas my son is a bit more like, oh, yeah, you'll be like, I love you, and like, okay, and so it's like maybe it doesn't make a difference so long as you know your parents are there for you, like,
Yeah.
and they're supportive, and they always have been, to be fair, like, so, but yeah, maybe it is a little bit of overcompensating. You could be right about that, and especially with me saying you can talk to me about anything at all, whatever. And if ever anything, if ever they do anything wrong or blah blah blah, like kids always do, I try and make them aware that it's grand, it's okay, it's cool. Things happen, blah blah blah. I just want to be there for them. I want to be an open door. I want them to be able to come to me at any stage with anything. My
And
biggest fear about them is like that they'll keep problems to themselves and they'll head off and like I didn't even tell my mum that time until after I had gotten help to say I wasn't feeling well and I went to the doctors and all this and I was doing some CBT and now I feel a lot better. No, my mum was living here as well at the time and I was with my wife and a part of you doesn't want to burden other people as well. Maybe that's a bit of an Irish
brilliant
thing.
word. That's a brilliant word, burden. I just
Yeah,
jump all over that word. It comes up
yeah.
constantly. And that's how we feel sometimes when we're struggling.
Mm. It is. And sometimes you feel like, they say a problem shared is a problem half, but sometimes
Yeah.
that's not in your head though. You're like, if I tell someone else about this, I have to explain myself again and why I'm feeling this way or what I did wrong, if I did do
Am I going
something
to be
wrong.
judged? This, that, and the other.
Am I going to
Yeah.
be judged? Is it going to cause other issues? They've got their own stuff to deal with. Why do they want to be listening to me now talking about this?
Have you ever lost any friends to suicide?
Um, I haven't lost friends to suicide. I've lost a friend. I've lost, excuse me, one of my cousins to suicide. Uh, and I've lost a work colleague to suicide as well. So,
How did that impact you?
my cousin, it was a long time ago, but I remember getting the phone call about it, and he's really young. He'd have been a little bit older than me at the time, but a young man,
Yes.
and it obviously made me feel really sad. You know, uh, I felt like his immediate family, like his siblings and his parents. I remember feeling worse for them for some reason. I don't know why. Even that's kind of a sad thing to say. I guess they're there. I found it hard to hear the news, so sort of like uh, I couldn't imagine how they were feeling, because he was my cousin and I would have been close enough, but not to the point where I was seeing him every week or every month even at a point. And obviously it was still very, very sad and emotional, but I always just find myself in the shoes of someone else. I'm like, how are they going to get past this? How are they going to get through this now? Um, sad, obviously that he's gone. But I was just gonna like, I guess in a way, you're like, yeah, I'm really sad about it, but I'm not sure if I can go on about how sad I am because the
Why
people
not?
closer to him have bigger problems on their plate. Do you know what I
Okay.
mean?
I hear you, but sometimes, right, it's not only about kin, it's about
Mm,
kinship as well.
yeah,
And
yeah,
sometimes sometimes family members aren't necessarily the closest people to that
yeah. No, I
person.
get that. Yeah, yeah, I get that. I get that as well. I think it's a complex thing to deal with, and I think people are getting better at dealing with it. Certainly, in the last couple of years, it's moving out of being such a taboo subject,
Yes.
unfortunately, because more people have done it. Like when a guy in work did it, I think he was an apprentice. He would have been a little bit younger than me at the time, and I just remember like the shock that hit me. Uh, we went to his funeral. He had kids as well, and he would have been. I was so shocked about him because I worked with him and I did see him every day, and he was. I'm not going to say. I'd say cocky. Cocky is probably the wrong word, but like he was the last person you'd expect to hear that
Absolutely.
news about, which
Absolutely.
I was just like, really? This guy, I thought he was so confident. He was so always talking, always chatting, always showing off or boasting or
Isn't that the mask?
yeah. And I was totally fooled by that mask anyway for 100% because I thought, oh shit, this is big. This is a big shock to me. I couldn't believe it, and I would have only been maybe 20 at the time. yeah, 20.
I know for a fact you wouldn't have been offered support, as it were,
Mm.
at that time in terms
No,
of the construction industry.
no. Uh, I'm trying to remember. I think we might have got some kind of uh, talk, like in work, but the fact that if I can't remember it, there it yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It was a long time ago. It was over 20 years ago. So uh, I remember it just being a really, really sad event, and I've never think seen so many people at a funeral. And it was kind of talked about in work. I can't remember if there was any support, or if we were encouraged to call people if we wanted to talk or anything like that. It's not at the top of my mind anyway.
Yeah,
But
and I dare say you wouldn't have took it anyway at that time.
probably not. Probably not. No, probably not. But yeah, you just kind of again, I kind of found myself in situations of seeing his kids and seeing his, partner, and going, oh shit, like
Yeah,
how are they feeling now? How are they feeling? I feel bad, but how are they feeling? How are they going to get through this?
two two people a day die in the construction industry in the UK
From suicide.
by suicide.
Yeah, yeah. It's terrible. Yeah, it is. It's absolutely terrible. Um, and
But can I say something as well?
yeah,
On both you, with your cousin and with your work colleague, when people who have been bereaved and are affected by suicide, they are 80 to 300% higher than the national average of likelihood to die by suicide themselves.
all right. Yeah, I didn't know that.
So you're in a high risk category group.
Okay, I didn't know that. I didn't know that statistic at all, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
why is that, do you think? Is it just because?
It relates to the kin and kinship thing. It
Yeah,
relates to the connection. You've heard of that phrase, blood is thicker than water, haven't you?
yeah, yeah.
Okay. But that's the bastardization of the blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb.
Okay.
And so that means that the bonds that you have, whether it be with your mate playing football or just your network and social group, can be
Mm,
far tighter than blood relations.
yeah, right.
And so when people are being bereaved and are affected, that high risk category group comes into play because you're dealing with milestones. They're not here for
Mm,
the birthday, they're not here for Christmas, they're not here for this, they're not here for that.
a
And
lot of
it
triggering
plays.
events. Yeah,
Yes.
a lot of triggering
Yes,
events afterwards. Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. No, it's awful. I mean, yeah, even as I was talking to you there about the two of them, there was another one. There was another one as well that I used to work with, that I heard about sort of years later, that he died by suicide as well. And it's just kind of yeah, it's it definitely needs, because like when I was on about earlier, it was hard to make the call and it was hard to talk to people, but um I don't think it's so much a sign of weakness anymore with men that talk, like, before it
Good.
might have been a macho thing, and don't be crying or toughen up or anything like that. I don't think
Man
I
up and
don't think
all
it
of that.
man up and all of that. Like,
Yeah,
kind of, I think we're getting past that in a good way, I
I
really
hope
do.
so.
Mm.
Can I ask? You kind of said something right at the beginning and all that, with like talking about family, having, your partner, your wife, the kids and all that. It feels like your wife has been a strong column in your life.
Oh yeah, massive, absolutely massive, hugely supportive. Um, of everything I've done. Of everything I've done. She was the first one I'll tell everything to. She's the first one that I said was brave enough to tell her about my dreams and aspirations, and you know what I mean? Because I knew she'd be I don't know, I just trusted her with them. Uh, when I started comedy, I was like, I'd love to do this, I loved that this was my job. I never said it to anybody else out loud. I just wished it to myself and told everyone else it was a hobby and I didn't really care about it. Um, which is kind of a defensive thing, isn't it? In case
It
somebody thinks
is.
you're shit at it or whatever, or someone turns you off it. But no, she's incredible. She's incredible. She's been extremely supportive in life to my career and everything else. And when I was going through a hard time, and I said, "Listen, I'm obviously was not feeling great that morning when I feel like a little bit of a breakdown at the breakfast table, like. And she said, "You need to talk to someone." And she was very supportive throughout that whole process,
Yes.
and still is. I'm absolutely seriously, like, I can't put into words how much she is there and always has been there for everything, professionally, everything else. I'm not saying it's perfect. We're constantly fighting or doing stuff, or you know what I mean, arguing as couples do. But when the dust settles, she's there all the time, and I try and be there for her as well, as much. I feel like it's a one-way street sometimes, though. I feel like she's.
I'm sure that's no.
Yeah,
What
yeah,
does,
no,
what
no,
does,
maybe not. Absolutely not. But you know what I mean. It's kind of. I saw her.
could
Yeah.
you do more?
I think we all could, to be honest. I think everybody can do a little bit more, like. Um,
What does love mean to you?
um, love is a deep question. What does love mean to me? Uh, I think it's kind of being with each other. I think it's exactly that. It's supporting each other like that. No matter what. I think the difficult parts are more important than the parts where it's all going swimmingly and you're having a great time and you're laughing and joking and eating meals. It's getting through the hard parts, like. That's getting through the hard parts together. Love kind of gets you through those hard bits, I think. Love is like it kind of even if you're fighting, actually, it kind of it can give the illusion that you're just arguing or at each other's throats, but you're getting through something together, actually, and you always end up with a solution at the other end of it. Like, I think that's kind of what love is. It's throwing all your problems on the table and being willing to sort them out once you're together. As supportive as she is, like with comedy or anything else, I went back to work as an electrician for 2 years when the comedy went away, and that felt like a very low moment. But at the same time, it didn't. I didn't feel too proud for 1 second to go back on the tools and go back on
Yeah,
the building site, because I
absolutely.
was like, because I have a family here and I love them, and I want to be able to provide for them, and you know what I mean,
Yeah.
whatever it takes, kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, I see it in my kids. I have obviously love for my family, my kids, my parents. I think it comes in many different shapes or forms. It's being there for someone is probably what love is, and it could be anything. It could be there for your wife and your kids, and it could be being there for a friend. Do you know what I mean? Maybe
Yeah.
it's just being there for a friend or even a colleague. It can come in many different shapes, big or small. It could be just getting someone a coffee, man. It can just be getting someone a coffee that is. Do you know what I mean? Or just letting someone know I'm there. By the way, if you want to ever chat, give me a shout. Because even in this game, even in the comedy game, there'd be. I know it's hard sometimes, and it's hard on the soul, like. And I get chatting to other comics that are coming up, and they'd be like, venting their frustrations, and I'm always absolutely serious. I'm like, give me a shout anytime if you want to have a coffee or do something, or do you know what I mean? I'll help in
Yeah.
whatever way I can.
Yes.
So there's many ways, because it's just making someone feel a little bit better, like.
Yeah. Can
Yeah.
I ask, who's the most important person in your life? And you can only have one person.
Oh Jesus. It's a very hard question. I can't pick one of my kids because the other kid will be left out. Uh, 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 It's probably my wife, I would say. My wife is probably the most I would find important.
Okay, what if I said you were wrong? What if I said
Okay.
it was you?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I didn't really think of myself. Yeah, because you're no good to anyone if you're not good to yourself, I suppose.
You
That's true.
when I said that to you, you looked down, you looked away. Then
Did I?
yeah.
Okay. I looked at my wedding ring actually. Would you believe that?
Okay, I believe it. I believe it.
Yeah, yeah. I looked at my wedding ring. But yeah, yeah. The most important person is yourself, not in a selfless way, but like in a
It's
kind of
not. It's
no.
not.
It's like if I'm looking after myself, I'm in a better place to be in better relationships with other people. And
Spot on.
yeah, I actually do remember reading something about that before about yourself and being the most important person. Obviously, it never stuck in my mind. But if I had just come out and said, I feel like also if you said who's the most important person, if I said me immediately,
I would have applauded you. Tim
would
would have
you?
rolled out the gong.
Okay, right, yeah.
What would you sacrifice
What would I sacrifice for?
for anything? What would you sacrifice? I always leave it open-ended, and don't say a human being, and don't say a sheep.
No, I wouldn't. No, I wouldn't sacrifice any of them. Um, I'd sacrifice my work, my job, really, uh, for
For,
happiness.
for happiness.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I am happy now, but if it came down to it and I had to sacrifice something, if work was getting to a point again where it was, sorry, making me unhappy, or you know what I mean, or taking me away from my family too much,
You could
or
turn your back on that and
I
walk
could,
away.
yeah, genuinely. I know that now because when I 2020 for the pandemic, when I went back to work as an electrician and I didn't do comedy for 2 years, something I held so close, and so I like it was my life, it was my whole life was comedy, and probably put too much of my life into it. But go and I was terrified of another job. I was absolutely terrified of doing something else because I think I'd almost become institutionalized by being a stand-up comic, and that was my whole identity. But when I went back to work, something cracked in me, I think, and I thought, oh, this is great. I can still enjoy comedy, but it's not every single thing about me. Like, do you know what I mean?
It
It isn't
doesn't
everything.
define you.
It's not
Yes.
defining me at all. Like, I mean, I'm a dad and a husband and all that before anything else.
This
And
is what you said right at the beginning as well.
yeah, yeah. And I've no like, uh, I love making people laugh. I love standing up on stage. But to be honest with you, there's probably an even better feeling in making my kids laugh and making my wife laugh. You know what I mean?
Yes,
So
does.
I could do that. I can do that no matter how I'm bringing in the bills. So yeah, I probably would sacrifice my job. I can't think of anything else I would sacrifice.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't think of anything else. I would just go, cut it out of my life
Yeah.
because the rest is my family members. I don't know what else. What else? What other type of answer do you get? Is that a question you ask? What other kind of answers do you get from people
All
sacrifice?
different types, but I did say to you, I prefaced it by saying, don't say a human being or sheep,
Yeah, yeah.
which is one of the responses I've had
Right, right.
in the past.
No.
Okay. Last final question. The Hurt Locker recording, we're all done and dusted.
Yeah.
We get off, Tim and I get off. There's a knock at the door. It's 10-year-old Chris Kent.
hmm
What would you say to him?
Um, do you know? I would probably say believe in yourself. Believe in yourself. That's always what I'm saying to my kids now as well, by the way. Believe in yourself, man. And don't be afraid to believe in yourself, and don't be afraid to tell people that you believe in yourself. Genuinely, that's what I would say. I
It's
think I stood
interesting.
in, yeah, I think I stood in my own way for a very long time, being deeply insecure and
Brilliant.
being deeply kind of afraid of failure, if I was being honest about it. When I was talking earlier, I was like, didn't tell my mom I was doing stand up, didn't tell other people I was doing stand up, brushed it off. I'm doing this for a hobby. I don't really care about this thing. You know what I mean? So if it was a 10-year-old me, I'd say believe in yourself and yeah, it's a belief. Believe in yourself, and you can do whatever you set your mind to. You're good enough. You're good enough. There was definitely a part
Absolutely.
of me that didn't think I was good enough, that didn't think I was smart enough, that didn't think I was clever enough. You know what I mean? A lot of hang-ups about when I went to school, and teachers are laughing at the career guidance teacher giving out college reports or whatever. I think there's always been a little bit of a hang-up in me,
Yeah.
not feeling like it was going to work. I think I was basically standing in my own way for a very long time. So I would say, yeah, believe in yourself, and hopefully he'd understand that.
Chris Kent, thank you for coming onto the Hurt Locker.
Thank you, Yinka. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me. That's flown by.
It's been a pleasure for me, and thank you for your candidness. I've really appreciated that.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
The Hurt Locker is a safe space for our guests to openly share their mental health experiences. If you have been affected by any of the content in this recording, then please reach out for support. If it is an emergency, dial 999. If you would like to talk to somebody today, then please call the Samaritans on 116 123. Stay safe. Thanks for listening to this episode of The Hurt Locker. Please give us a rating or share with another listener. You can also follow us on Instagram and Facebook at The Hurt Locker Pod.